I love Jrpgs. If you don't know what a Jrpg is, it's a Japanese role-playing game. It's one of my all-time favorite genres. The very first one that I ever played is Project Cross Zone on the Nintendo 3DS. And today, I'm going to share with you guys 5 PlayStation 2 RPGs that I got into after I got into the genre. These are the ones that kind of solidified my love for RPGs in general. One of them I actually grew up loving, even though I didn't get to play it until like several years ago for the very first time. I love the PlayStation 2's library of RPGs. There's so many great ones here that I cannot wait to share with you guys. This isn't really going to be like a top 5. These are going to be all in like random order. And also, most of them are action RPGs, because when I started playing RPGs after playing Project Cross Zone, which is a tactical RPG, I primarily was playing action RPGs. Ones with real-time combat. They're more fast-paced. They're a lot more, to me, they are a lot more like easier to get into, because you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking. There's not a whole lot of strategy with a lot of action RPGs. You're just like hacking and slashing enemies. I mean, you do have some strategy. You do have to keep track of your party members and all that. So yeah, so here are the 5 PlayStation 2 RPGs that I got started with. And if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by smashing that like button, commenting, and subscribing. So let's get on with some really great PlayStation 2 RPG. I'm going to kick things off with the one that I have had the most like history with, and that is Kingdom Hearts 2. So growing up, I played at Kingdom Hearts 2. Well, I didn't really play it. What I did is I played the trailer for it over and over and over again, and I watched like all the videos that I can on Kingdom Hearts 2. I didn't even really know it was an RPG until years later. It just looked like a really cool video game with Disney characters, and I really liked Disney as a kid. So, to me, this game looked like a dream that came to life, and it still feels like a dream that came to life. This is one of the best games in the Kingdom Hearts series. One of the best games that I've ever played from Square Enix. It has a really beautiful cover art here. Just look at that cover art with the kind of silverish background. There's other characters that you get to see. You see Roxas, Sora, Kairi, Mickey, Donald, Goofy. This also has some of my favorite worlds from Disney that you get to explore. Pirates of the Caribbean, Aladdin, there's Tron, also Mulan, The Lion King. So you get to explore the Pride Lands, you get to explore the Grid, Agrabah, you get to explore the Caribbean. There's also the Timeless River. So many great worlds in this game, and this also really refined the gameplay from the original Kingdom Hearts game. And I've played almost all the Kingdom Hearts series, and I gotta say, Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely has the best gameplay, the best combat. It introduced the drive forms, and it had a whole lot of other cool things going for it. Absolutely amazing story, music. Sanctuary is one of my all-time favorite opening theme songs for any kind of RPG / anime. I really love it. It is right up there along with Simple and Clean as one of the best songs in the entire series. This game will always be a part of my memories, and I can't believe it took me so long to actually get around to playing Kingdom Hearts. I loved just the concept of Final Fantasy and meets Disney, and it is just wow. But the very first action RPG that I ever played is another game from Square Enix, and this is one of Square Enix and Tri-Ace's best on the console, and that is Star Ocean Till the End of Time. Now, I walked into a used media store that was part of a European company called CEX, or Computer Entertainment Exchange. I believe that's what it's called for. Or, I mean, what CEX stands for. And they were trying out, like, some stores in America, and luckily my local mall had one. And I walked in there one day, and I was looking around at the PlayStation 2 games, and I stumbled upon a game called Star Ocean. Now, it was just disc only. They had it in a generic PlayStation 2 case with some generic, like, store brand artwork. I believe it was like $5 to $6. So it was dirt cheap. So I picked it up and I started playing it, and it was a completely different experience for me, because back then, when I started out playing RPGs, I was primarily into like platformers, shoot 'em ups, other action games, first person shooters. I was never really too big into what is now my favorite genre, and that is RPGs. So there was a lot of things in this game that were brand new to me. One thing that I've never experienced before is getting to explore an expansive world, a high fantasy world, but with sci-fi elements mixed in, and this opened up a whole new avenue for me, and I ended up falling in love with Star Ocean. I did eventually get a CIB copy. I had the greatest hits, but now I got the black label. The greatest hits version has better artwork compared to the black label one, as you can see here. And also, another thing that was kind of new to me was Star Ocean Till the End of Time is a 2-disc game, and I've never really knew that there could be multiple discs for video games outside of PC, because back then I had Sonic Heroes, I had the original Far Cry, I had other games on PC that were multiple discs, but I never had a game for a video game console that had more than 2 discs for it. And that's because the story for Star Ocean and the world and everything is so huge that it has to be on multiple discs. So that was a whole new experience for me. Now, Star Ocean Till the End of Time, you play as Fate Lion God, who is this character right here, and him and his childhood friend Sophia Estede and his family are on a vacation on a tropical resort planet when it gets attacked by aliens known as the Vendini, and he ends up getting separated from everyone and winds up crash landing on a underdeveloped planet, aka a planet that is set in a fantasy type environment. He ends up going from that planet to another underdeveloped planet, and kind of the rest is history. And he ends up teaming up with a bunch of people, and they wind up saving the universe. Typical JRPG sounding stuff, but there is a huge plot twist towards the end of the game that kind of changes the whole outlook of the series. But knowing what I know about Star Ocean after playing Star Ocean Till the End of Time, the other games don't really tap into that, because Star Ocean Till the End of Time, if you didn't know, is actually the latest game in the timeline. all the other games that came after this and that came before this are all set like years, hundreds of years before Star Ocean till the end of time. But if you haven't played this game, I do highly recommend it. It is also available on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 store. Now, you can't really get it on PlayStation 4 because the store is not shut off. But if you do have a PlayStation 5, you can get it on that. And I do highly recommend Star Ocean Till the End of Time. It's one of my favorites. So, next up, I have Tales of Legendia here. This is the very first Tales game that I ever got into. Now, sorry about that, I had to clear my throat there. So, Tales of Legendia. I believe how I got this game is I found it at another castle out in Edmonds. I think it was out at another castle. I honestly don't remember where I first got Tales of Legendia. I do know that it's the very first Tales game that I ever played. It's not my favorite in the series, but it definitely holds a special place in my heart. This is a different kind of Tales game, as this was not developed by the main Namco Tales studio. Instead, this was developed by under the name Project Melfest, from members of the Tekken team, as well as some members of the Bandai Namco's Tales team. And this was developed alongside Tales of the Abyss and came out around the same year, came out around 2005. And this has more of a 2D side-scrolling combat system that's kind of heavy on some fighting game mechanics with combos and all that. There's also no mystic arts in this game, which is what the series is like well known for, having the super flashy special attacks. And the main character, his name is Sentinel Coolidge. He uses Iron Aries. There's also no arts in this game. There's a thing known as Crystal Aries, which is like magic, and then Iron Aries, which is more like martial arts. So he is a martial artist that fights with his fists, and he is trying to get back his sister after they stumble upon this giant floating ship that houses like an entire continent. And there's a whole bunch of trouble brewing on this new area that they are exploring, and he teams up with a whole wide variety of different characters. There's even a whole another 30 to 40 hour part of the game after you beat the main story, and it's called the Character Quest. So it kind of doubles the lengths and makes it feel like you're playing two different games set in the same universe. Well, set on the same world. And I really do enjoy Tales of Legendia. I do hope that we get a remaster of that game as part of the Tales of 30th Remaster project. Be awesome for more people to play that. And then shortly after Tales of Legendia, I got into Phantasy Star Universe. And just like Tales of Legendia, I honestly don't remember where I discovered this game. I just know that it was one of the very first RPGs that I ever played on the PlayStation 2. And this one also was a bit of a different experience for me, since this kind of plays like an MMO. It is an action RPG. It's with hack and slash real-time combat, but it has MMO elements in it because the Phantasy Star games nowadays are more heavily on those MMO mechanics. This game also does have an online mode, it had an online mode. You could probably still go online via private servers. And it's not as popular as Phantasy Star Online and Phantasy Star Online 2. I do wish that we could get a potential Phantasy Star Universe HD collection, because there was an expansion / sequel to the story on the PlayStation 2 called Ambitions of the Illuminists. There is also the Phantasy Star portable games that continue the story of Phantasy Star Universe. Now, as for the story, as far as I know, just reading off the back here, it says 100 years of peace is destroyed in an instant when deadly invaders called the Seed descend on the Gurhal system. As the Alliance military force fleet crumbles under the Seed's superior might, Ethan Waber, not Ethan Weber, his name is Waber, which is W-A-B-E-R, kind of a funny name for a JRPG protagonist, begins a heroic journey to save his home planet alongside the elite Guardians, who he actually hated. So it's kind of ironic that he does wind up joining a group of people, group of, warriors or heroes or whatever you want to call the Guardians. And they end up exploring different planets in the Gurhal system and defeating the Seed as well as other villains and bad guys. And you get to use different classes that have their different weapon usage. There's guns, swords, spears, bitter swords. There's dual blades. You can even mix and match, have like a saber in one hand and a pistol in another hand. There's also rifles and all sorts of other different weapons to use in this game. Very heavy sci-fi. If you love Phantasy Star, I definitely highly recommend playing Phantasy Star Universe. I really enjoyed it. Now, unlike the other games that I've talked about, this is the only game that I have not beaten. This is going to be the only game in this entire video that I haven't beaten. And I do hope to finish the main story of this game, because I would love to get onto the other games in the series. Now, I had at one point Ambitions of the Illuminists on PS2, and I wish I never got rid of it. And then once I get a PlayStation Portable again, I would love to get the Phantasy Star portable games so I can experience the full series in its entirety. Now lastly, I want to end this game on one of my, start of one of my all-time favorite series, and that is the Xenosaga games. Now, I have Xenosaga Episode 3 here, which is my favorite game of all time. I honestly have done a little bit of thinking lately, and Xenosaga Episode 3 is my all-time favorite. Just slightly beating out Tales of the Abyss. They are kind of tied together, but that's beside the point. I don't have Xenosaga Episode 1. That was the first turn-based RPG that I've ever played on the PlayStation 2. Excuse me there. And I wish I still had it, but for now, I'm just imagine that this is Xenosaga Episode 1. So, Xenosaga Episode 1 is kind of where it all began for me with turn-based, traditional turn-based RPGs. I played most of it. I ended up getting stuck on one boss fight like halfway through the game, and it took me years until I finally got back to it and was able to continue on with the game, and I did eventually beat it. What really got me hooked on it was the whole sci-fi universe. I am a huge fan of sci-fi. I grew up falling in love with Star Wars, as well as like Starship Troopers and a whole bunch of other different sci-fi series that I really got into. And Xenosaga was one of them that just instantly connected with me because of my deep love for sci-fi. It also had mechs in it, and I was also really into mecha anime, so that was another big hook on it. It has a very deep story. You play as Shion Uzuki, who is a member of Vector Industries. You're also teamed up with other characters like this super awesome battle android named Cosmos, who has all this experimental tech inside of her, and she is able to make these alien creatures known as the Gnosis be susceptible to damage by pulling them into their physical universe and all that. There's a whole bunch of lore with the Xenosaga series that I could spend hours trying to explain, but I'm not going to. I also really liked how the game just felt overall. I also was big into the mech designs and being able to customize them with different weapons. It also took me years later to kind of fully understand the battle system as well as the skill trees and being able to power up my characters, level them up, get them super strong and all that. And Xenosaga Episode 1 will always hold a special place in my heart. That's it. Those are the 5 PlayStation 2 JRPGs that I got into when I was first getting into the genre. These games, I will always hold a special place in my heart for them. And I would like to know, what are some of the very first RPGs that you guys have played? It doesn't have to be on the PlayStation 2. It could be. You can always let me know in the comment section down below. I'm Mecha Otaku Gamer, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.